We have finally made it. The top 10, not just any top 10, maybe the top 10 of the single greatest year in the history of video game releases. It's kind of a big deal. The number of times my list this year has changed multiple times with every game that came out. I'd move it, think about it, and move somebody up. Maybe somebody moved down, or you know what? I thought more about this one. I got to move it back up. It became countless if I would have kept track. My number 10 is one of the first new games that came out this year that I played. And it was also the first game I streamed of a new type of game that was completely foreign to me going into 2023, horror games. The remake of Dead Space, a game that I had obviously never played in its original version, is really truly responsible for me having an entire new genre of games that I actually love and will be looking forward to in the future. Remakes and remasters are interesting in me in terms of if I choose to count them on my list each year. For example, I wouldn't have counted The Last of Us Part 1 remake if I actually played it last year and not in January this year, because it wasn't different enough in the actual gameplay. I'd already played the original multiple times. So Dead Space I can see to some not being new enough, but for me, it was maybe the most new a game has ever been, with it being my first dive into a survival horror game. Emphasis on the horror part and my stream scare counter of 40 during this game. Twitch.tv/SwirlyStreams since we're here, quick plug. A lot has changed in this game compared to the first as I understand, and most of them being the best types of changes remakes and remasters can make. Quality of life ones. They changed the map of the ship to make all of it accessible at all times, as well as adding the quest objective line to show you where you need to go next. The game is just a bloody mess of absolute nightmare fuel, and I could not believe how much fun I was having while playing it. I really think streaming it helped me get through it. Horror in the little I have experienced it in my life is best in a group setting to either share in it together or laugh at me being genuinely way too scared of most things. We've talked a lot about the idea of Dead Space and why it means a lot to me now as a well-rounded gamer as far as my interests go. What about the game made it worthy of a top 10 spot this year? The combat is so much fun. Just blasting limbs off of these horrible alien monsters to be able to weaken them is such a smart choice. In these types of games / media in general, limbs flying off of the monsters are always fun, and that's both the most fun way to handle the situations in this game, but also the most effective too. The best strategy to use in this game is to shoot the legs off of an enemy, walk over to it, and stomp its head in to save ammo. Which, by the way, the stomp in this game is so good. Again, both fun and smart in terms of how to play the game best, and that's a perfect combination that is actually more rare to find in games than it should be. The alien monsters in this game get to be so grotesque, and even the simplest of enemies never lose that fear factor they bring to you. Resources, including health, are so hard to come by and almost to its detriment at its most extreme. And every bullet or hit you take can mean the difference of life and death. I think it's my one complaint with this game. There were a few times where I did feel like my resources were so low that I really struggled getting my stores built back up. To go explore any chest meant I would have to fight more, using those resources up. You never fully are out, and I never hit a wall of just not having enough stuff on me to get through an encounter. So maybe that's actually perfect game design. But in the moment, it did bother me a few times, but again, maybe 10% of the 15 hours I spent in this game were spent reminiscing and looking back on the good old days of actually having plasma cutter rounds to spare. But that wasn't enough to make me not love this game and feel it was very deserving of a spot in my top 10 this year. Dead Space is survival horror in its truest form. An all-time classic made better by a remake that a lot of people didn't really think it needed in the first place, but I'm super glad that they chose to do it. Dead Space is a must-own, in my opinion, for anybody who loves survival horror, but honestly, I'm the best case for this, even if you don't like it. Maybe it's the one that gets you into it just like it did for me. I just hope this leads to EA making the second and third, and hopefully even a brand new Dead Space for me to get super excited about in the future as well. Ooh. Oh my God! Okay,